The Satversme's centenary. The story of Latvia's constitution, which has stood the test of time. This is the Satversme. It is Latvia's supreme law. The Satversme establishes the system of government and the principles for the exercise of power. It provides for fundamental human rights. The Satversme has the highest legal force of any law in Latvia. The Satversme is among the oldest constitutions in force in Europe. Although Latvia's supreme law is already 100 years old, it is still relevant today and will remain so in the future. The concise language of the Satversme allows for its values to be interpreted in step with the times. The Satversme is relatively brief compared to other constitutions. Although concise, the Satversme is not simple. The rulings of the Constitutional Court and the voluminous scholarly commentaries on the Satversme interpret what is contained in Latvia's constitution. These have been collated in 6 volumes, totaling 3,712 pages. The Satversme from its inception to the present day. The Republic of Latvia is founded. Elections to the Constitutional Assembly are held. Voter turnout is 84.9% and a total of 152 members are elected. The Constitutional Assembly convenes. It is the first legislature elected by the people of the Republic of Latvia. Its main task is to draw up the supreme law of Latvia. 3 parts were originally planned for the Satversme: organisation of state institutions, the rights and obligations of citizens, the election procedure for the Parliament. The Constitutional Assembly adopts the first part of the Satversme. The second part lacks the votes for its adoption, while the third is moved to a different law, the Saeima election law. At the time, the members of the Assembly were unaware that the Satversme would not undergo major amendments for many decades to come. The Saeima, Latvia's parliament, convenes for the first time and the Satversme enters into force. The Satversme brings high expectations with it, and it is assumed that it will automatically bring good laws and prosperity to the people. In reality, the newly established state experiences political fragmentation, leading to difficult decision-making for the parliament. The hopes raised by the Constitution are eventually replaced by a crisis of parliamentarism. A national coup takes place. Parliamentary functions are taken over by the Cabinet of Ministers. The authoritarian regime promises constitutional reform, but fails to deliver. The Satversme is applied fragmentarily at the discretion of the regime. Latvia is occupied by the Soviet Union. A year later, Latvia is occupied by Nazi Germany. At the end of the war, the Soviet regime returns to Latvia, remaining there for decades. Although Latvia disappears from the world map during the occupation, the Satversme remains in legal force. The hopes for a free Latvia remain. The Latvian diplomatic service continues to function in several Western countries. More than 50 countries do not recognise Latvia's incorporation into the Soviet Union. A popular national awakening movement emerges in Latvia. The Soviet regime shows signs of democratisation, opening an avenue for the Baltic states to free themselves from occupation. The Supreme Council proclaims the restoration of independence with a partial reinstatement of the Satversme. A new version of the Constitution is simultaneously in the planning. The de facto independence of Latvia is restored. The Supreme Council decides to retain the Satversme. This emphasises the continuity of the Latvian state, which was founded in 1918, but subject to long years of occupation. The Satversme is fully restored upon the convening of the 5th Saeima. The Constitutional Court is established to adjudicate on the compatibility of laws with the Satversme. The Saeima adds a chapter on fundamental human rights to the Satversme. The Satversme is supplemented by an introduction or preamble, which reflects the constitutional foundations of the Latvian state. The Satversme has been amended 15 times in total, modernising and adapting it in line with Latvia's development. However, the foundation for the state, wisely laid by its original creators, has remained unchanged over time. The Satversme has always been and remains a symbol of Latvia's statehood. A constitution that reflects the values of the Latvian people. A constitution that has stood the test of time.